सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणी विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा वसुदेवं सुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं हरि ओम्. We are today going to look at what is the Isha Upanishad. Is anyone aware of what is the Isha Upanishad? Something about it, if we have heard of it.
It's a smallest Upanishad, easy one to
Ah,
compare
uh,
maybe.
smallest is Mandukya Upanishad,
Oh,
but
okay.
one of the shortest we can say.
Okay.
It's got 18, around 18 verses are there in the Isha Upanishad.
Okay.
Yeah, so that is one thing. And then anything else about this? Many say it is the sweetest Upanishad. There is something in this Upanishad which is very, very unique, and its name also begins with the very first verse of this Upanishad. Before we enter into this Upanishad, can someone tell me what is the need to understand an Upanishad in today's day and life? Is it necessary?
I don't know much, but to my knowledge, it's like an essence of Vedas. So it's easy, understandable thing. To my knowledge, I don't know whether I'm right or wrong, but with a lot
Okay,
of
it is. It is. Where
examples.
Upanishads are the Vedantas, so yes, they have the knowledge that is there in the Vedas. Yes, but now we have Bhagavad Gita, which is also an Upanishad in itself. They call the Gita Upanishad, Gita Upanishad. But now we know, we have also seen now what Sri Aurobido's Upanishad is about. It is all the Upanishads are about what is the knowledge of the Brahma Vidya, the Brahman. Who is this Brahman? The Brahman is all pervading, all transcending. That Brahman is eternal. That Brahman is so brilliant, so vast, so wonderful, so glorious. It's like just a stuti of Brahman everywhere, or the description of the Brahman, depending on the type of the Upanishad. It is talking about the Brahma Vidya, and this is the core of the Vedanta. But the important question is, will Brahma Vidya put food on my table? That is a person will simple question a person will ask. Will Brahma Vidya pay my bills? What is the use of Brahma Vidya in everyday life? Since we are going to be studying. Yes, Juhiji would like to add something.
Actually, I have a very funny statement to this.
Okay.
It might it might not put food on my table, but
Yeah.
indirectly it will. Why?
Huh.
Because let's say I get angry faster. Just an example.
Okay.
Then in the Brahm Vidya, or like whatever in Gita also, and also in very a lot of
Okay.
Upanishads, we have seen that we shouldn't get angry because obviously uh, everyone is the root of like the Parabram. If we start
Hmm.
seeing Parabram in every object and being, then like what's there to get angry about, right?
Okay.
Technically,
Okay.
that way. So even
So
if
it,
my boss comes,
ha ha.
shouts on me, I'll be like, fine, either that person is Moodha or
Okay.
he is not seeing Brahman in others. At least I should see Brahman in everyone, including my
Okay.
boss.
When he shouts
So
you
I must
wrongly,
not get
no? When
angry.
when the shouting is without any basis, or
No,
if the
I'm just
criticism.
I'm just joking about that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
one scenario. But also on
Yes.
another scenario, it can be for many reasons. Maybe my boss is not that way, but once
Hmm.
in a while it can happen because all of us are humans. What
Okay.
one is no one to talk about, and I'm no one to have this, ki, I
Okay.
am the supreme one and whatnot.
Great.
So all
Great.
these
So.
things we understand from the Puranas, from Upanishads and stuff. So it will
Mhm.
not make me do अहंकार ego जाएगा बहुत
Okay.
कुछ अच्छा आएगा so technically
Okay.
that way I will be
Hmm.
a person who will be eligible for that job, and if I earn money, I'll be able to get food
And
on my
better.
table.
Okay. I will not get, I will
Maybe,
have what we can,
whatever.
a
So
better
technically,
tolerance, a better tolerance
whatever,
in
yeah. Tolerance,
our
patience, knowledge, because we should be
perspective,
hungry. Yeah,
a wider perspective, isn't it?
exactly.
Okay.
Patience, like it teaches us a lot of things. So
Okay.
directly
Great.
नहीं आएगा food, but
Okay.
indirectly बहुत ज़्यादा आएगा food. देखा
Excellent,
जाए तो.
excellent. Okay, wonderfully said, Juheji. Because I remember when I first started writing poetry, I was told, don't waste your time in poetry. Poetry will not, if you become a celebrated poet, maximum you will not be able to put food on the table. You might be able to pay a portion of some of your electricity bills once in a while, but that is not that any was advised. And fairly, when I was in school, I thought the worst thing in the world are poets only. They are jobless, and their job is to trouble children because they come in the English exam. What was in the mind of the poet? Yeah, I don't have time to read what is in my mind. Why should I understand what is in the poet's mind? That was the attitude back then. But I think a little maturity came forth, and then I understood poetry, philosophy, all of these, they actually surround us in our life. What philosophy we have in life, that shapes our life experience. Some people say, I don't believe in philosophy. Well, that is also a philosophy, isn't it? So, so Brahma Vidya is also a very essential knowledge. That is what our great rishis understood. Some of them actually, I would not call them the rishis, but some of the interpreters began to see that Brahma Vidya alone is important and that Brahma Vidya is not found in the world. And so they started running after a brilliant knowledge which is not connected with the world. That is where Sri Aurobido's Upanishad, or what we saw in the last session, Brahma Satyam, Jagadapi Brahma, Satyam na Mithya. Meaning, in this world also there is this Brahman. That aspect of a practical Brahma Vidya is something which is very important for us. And Brahma Vidya itself is very practical. It will not teach you to run away from the world, it will teach you to embrace the world. And this Upanishad is also something like that. If we see, we will look at some of the verses. There are 18 verses. Our race is to try to complete all 18 today. But again, there is no limit on us. So if it does take time, we'll have it in two parts. We will not run too fast that we don't see where we are running. So that is one thing. So we will begin directly with the first verse of the Isha Upanishad. Sri Aurobindo has beautifully divided the Upanishad into four movements. First movement, what is there? Second, third, fourth. That is something we can slowly see. This is a very essential and special Upanishad because in the very starting only it talks about embracing the world. Seeing, as Juhiji said, if I see the Brahman in the world, Brahman in my boss, I will not get disturbed. If I see the Brahman within me also, I will not have what we call inferiority complex also. I will also not have a superiority complex because Sarvam Brahmamayam Jagat. All are one, that oneness. We will see that oneness in this Upanishad also. It is truly very beautifully done. I would not like to influence your decision of this Upanishad, how beautiful it is or how beautiful it is not. I think you should yourself see. Let us, without any delay, enter into the first verse of this Upanishad, the Isha Upanishad. The Shervindo's first moment, which he has beautifully written a beautiful, like a big commentary on this. He actually reserved his longest commentary for this Upanishad because of its important significance in life. So let us see the first three verses form the first moment of Sri Aurobido's text. Let us look at the first shloka of this Upanishad, or the first verse of this Upanishad. Om Isha Vasyam Midam Sarvam Yat Kincha Jagatyam Jagat Tena Tyaktena Bhunjitha Ma Gruda Kasya Svidhanam. I'll repeat it once more. Om Isha Vasyamidam Sarvam Yat Kincha Jagatyam Jagat Tena Tyaktena Bhunjita Magruda Kasya Svidhanam. So this first verse actually has given the name to this Upanishad. It is called Isha Upanishad or Isha Upanishad, or also called Isha Vasya Upanishad or Isha Vasya Upanishad. Because the first word, Isha Vasya, Isha is who? The Ishvara, the Supreme, the Divine. Isha Vasyam Idam Sarvam. Yat Kencha Jagatyam Jagat. We can just look at the poetry of it. Enveloped by him, all that is but his. Living, non living, in the world, everything that is. Understanding its owner, you must joyously forsake. Seek not any wealth, only what is given you take. It's very interesting. Just once more, I will just see and we will look at its meaning. Enveloped by him, all that is but his. Living, non living. In the world, everything that is. Understanding its owner, you must joyously forsake. Seek not any wealth, only what is given you take. Such a beautiful verse, and it is several thousand years old. This verse is of the rishis. So we are actually connecting with our ancestors who had understood some beautiful truths of life, and that shaped their entire life. And they found something good. How can you say that? Because we are still reading it after several thousand years. We are trying to identify its value. So it teaches us number one is all that is but his. It is enveloped by the divine. It's enveloped by him. Everything in the world. But does that mean nothing is ours?
There's no
Yes.
such thing as ours because
Yeah.
if, as we are part of the Brahman, everything belongs to him and us.
And us,
If you get my
isn't it?
meaning, it's all one.
Yes, but can it be only mine?
No,
It cannot. Because I am nothing without
no,
the Brahman. It's like a
that's
continuum,
right.
it's a chain of consciousness. It is, so maybe my best friend is not a position that I can hold, isn't it? Or my family, or my objects. So living, non-living, everything in the world that is, it is belonging to the divine. If I recognize that, if I understand that the owner is someone else, will that not shape our perspective of life? Can a lover claim the beloved as a property, personal property of the lover? Just because the person loves the person, can you say a mother can say, my child is my property? Many parents say, isn't it? This is my fixed deposit. My child is my fixed deposit. Something like that. Can the parent claim? Can the parent claim the child to be, because you see, by blood, by genes, by sanskara, by so many factors, your child shares so many similarities with you. And so many properties of you have entered into your child. But in spite of all of that, can you claim your child to be yours only as a
No,
property? No, isn't it,
no,
Shashiji? Can we claim
no.
the one we love to be ours? You were adding something.
Mm,
Please do. Yeah.
It's not for lack of trying. At the end of the day, we
Hmm.
don't belong to anyone and nobody belongs to us. We all
Yeah. Yeah.
share a relationship, different relationships.
Yes.
But no, sadly, nobody belongs to anyone at the
Yeah.
end of the day.
But the divine. But the divine.
Yes, but the divine.
So maybe I may not like a particular friend and I'm completely disconnected from a friend. But that's my personal liking and disliking, isn't it? That is
That's
creating a
right.
particular.
Yeah.
But if I look at it from the divine perspective of the Isha Upanishad, I am connected. Though I may be
Yes.
saying, Katti, I don't want to talk to you at all anymore. That person is still connected in consciousness, whether or not I am aware of it, because that is what this
Mm,
Upanishad talks about and doesn't talk just about people. It talks about inanimate objects also. They are also connected.
yes.
Living, non living, everything in the world. And say a friend gives you his vehicle, a car or a bike or something. How will you use it?
With care.
with care, isn't it? It's a normal thing. It's a normal, sensible tendency. If I give it to my friends, some of them in college, I knew they will break the bike only, so they were not really trustworthy people to give. But otherwise, if you look at it, when somebody is conscious, or when you are conscious that this does not belong to me, you're going to take extra care of it, and that is what this Upanishad is asking us to do. First is recognize you are not the owner. Means you may like something so much, but just Krishna Arpanam, that bhava, no? It is so beautiful. If you even love someone, if you offer the love to the divine first, you'll be able to love that person better. Tvadiyam vastu govindam tubhyam eva samarpayat. Because in the Vedic rishis understood that our human nature is not enough. Our human nature has so many limitations. We may say, I love my child, so I get possessive of my child. In that position only stunts the growth of the child, isn't it? That becomes a binding factor. If you care for someone, you love for someone, are you going to let that person be free, or you're going to say, oh, this is mine, I will not let that person go? Best thing I can think of is my I was attracted to a particular t-shirt which I did not want to let go of. Finally, my mother had to tear it. That was when I stopped. Otherwise, I was just holding on to it, holding on to it. It had gone so old, but no, because you can't always hold on to things in life like that. Sometimes you do have to let go. And it's easier to let go when you recognize that the owner is the divine and it was never yours in the first place. You cannot claim to have something that is not yours, isn't it? If it is the
Hmm.
divine's, it is, you may lose a friend, divine will give another friend. Whatever it is divine calculation, a zero sum game. You don't have to worry about it. Just offer. Offer is what the Upanishad says. Tena tyaktena bhunji tha. That is very interesting though. It's asking you to sacrifice. Understand the owner and sacrifice. And then there's one interesting point, sacrifice with joy. Joyously forsake. Enjoy. Enjoy and sacrifice. This is so irritating, isn't it? One is you're being asked to sacrifice. Your tyaga. But in tyaga, can there be enjoyment?
There can be if one does it voluntarily.
With
If one
love?
does it grudgingly, the
Ah,
vibrations are not pure.
yeah.
But when one does it wholeheartedly,
Okay. But
that's it.
any example of tyaga with love which is giving you a joy? You're actually losing something, isn't it? You're sacrificing. But,
Absolutely like a mother. So the
oh, that's so
last piece of
beautiful.
cake, if I eat, I'll have X amount of joy. But when my daughter eats, it's like excess, X to the
Yeah,
power of
yeah,
X.
absolutely, isn't it? It is like we may eat, we may hide it from the child also if the child doesn't know. But when we give it to the child will actually enjoy it so much. Beautiful example, the mother's consciousness. Look at that. That
But one thing,
consciousness,
G,
yes,
when that child
yeah,
has, that child need not be my child alone. Any
yeah.
child for that matter becomes the love that Upanishad
Yeah,
says.
yeah, that is a universal matru tattva, no? That is the universal consciousness of love, and that is beautiful, isn't it? Otherwise, we become Dhritarashtra, no? Mama kaha Pandavaschaiva. We start a Mahabharata only. This is my child and not my child, and we don't realize we end up creating a Kurukshetra. And if we are Dhritarashtra, our Kauravas are going to be in trouble, no? So we should really come out of that. My child, your child is universal. Mother's consciousness, it is something. It is a consciousness which always blesses and bestows, and in that sacrifice only there is the joy, the mother's joy of sacrifice. Or you say even a simple action of cooking. If you're cooking, I think if somebody who has learned the art of cooking, it could be it could be any gender for that matter. It doesn't have to be male, female, trans, whatever gender you want to say. Someone who cooks and offers, the person is not going to be eating the food, but even watching somebody eat with joy the food that has been cooked, that gives the greatest of what we can say an ethereal joys, which even chefs, they may not be mothers, they may not be fathers, but they get that experience. That is what, well, that is the joy of sacrificing. A soldier sacrifices with joy their life for the motherland. It is such a, it's like Jai Bharat. For what? For what reason? Where does that fire come in? Where does that joy come in? Well, that is something which is divine, and this Upanishad is inviting us. Tena tyaktena bhunjita, and then it tells like a warning. Magrudha kasya svidhanam. Don't try to lust after somebody else's wealth. How simple it is. Meaning the possessions are also not yours. Don't try to grab and steal something else which does not be. Don't be a thief. That is what this Upanishad tells in the very first verse. If the first verse is all right, can we move to the second verse? Yes. Okay. This is very interesting. This is which confuse a lot of people who try to dismiss the Brahman in the world. You say quickly get moksha, escape from this world to get the real truth. And here this Upanishad creates the biggest problem because you see, no matter how much you try, you cannot twist and distort the truth in this second verse. Kurvan neveha karmani jijivishe chatam samaha. It's talking about doing your karma. Kurvan neveha karmani jijiveshet satam samaha. Evam tvai nanyat hetosti na karma lipyate nare. I'll just repeat it once more. Kurvanneveha karmani jijivishet satam samaha. Evam tvai nanyathetosthi na karma lipyate nare. Performing your works in the world one must stay, seeking to live 100 years this way. This is the only possible way for mankind, wherein, despite performing actions, no karma can bind. I repeat once more. Performing your works in the world one must stay, seeking to live 100 years this way. This is the only possible way for mankind, wherein, despite performing actions, no karma can bind. It's like this is the only way the Upanishad is declaring. You have to perform your kurvan neveha karmani, and for how many years? For 100 years, a full lifespan. Meaning a full lifespan of karmas, of offering with joy everything to the divine and doing all your actions. Because I think we missed one more important one part we missed in the first look. I think I did not cover that. Uh, it is like seek not any wealth, only what is given you take. Means that last part, no, don't lust after another's wealth, but whatever is given, meaning whatever comes naturally to you, don't reject it. Experience that joy. Krishna also says, no, yad ashnasi, yad johosi yad. Uh, Kurushva madarpana, he says, with offering to me, enjoy your enjoyment also. Meaning, one person after a Gita study asked, can I go to parties after studying the Gita? Will Krishna allow me? What is the answer? Anybody?
Go. Why not?
Yes?
Go.
Go take Krishna with you, isn't it?
Yeah.
Take Krishna with you and experience the joy. Look at that party becoming a divine party. And when Krishna comes, the party, only the gopis understand what is the real meaning of party. When the consciousness of the divine is present. He says, Kurushva Madarpana. Do whatever you want. Go for a vacation. That person was seriously thinking of cancelling a vacation with family because the person felt that would be against the principle of the Gita. Which it is not, isn't it? If you can take the divine. Yes, Vijayaji.
So he sees two things. Divine is different from himself.
Yes. Whatever may be the exact understanding of that person, that is the thing. So, Kurvan Nevehe Karmani, even this Krishna, I mean, the Upanishad tells as per the first verse, you follow. For how many days? For how many years? It is 100 years. Full lifespan you have to follow. Meaning, whatever comes naturally, accept it as a gift from the divine, but don't hold on or don't lust after any object or anything or anybody or whatsoever, because divine is the owner. Something is coming, it is like raindrops falling from the sky. That is grace. Experience the grace. No, who is asking you not to experience the vrishti of grace coming into our life? That we don't have to run away from, but not get trapped. And this way, the second shloka, it says, try this, because This is the only way. This is the only way where despite performing actions, no karma will bind. Now we are talking about karma. Bhagavad Gita talks about karma yoga. Very early Krishna talks about it. And he talks about how to perform karma yoga. Anybody?
Everything is an offering to the divine.
Yes, yes, as an
Every
offering to the
action,
divine.
everything is an offering to
Yes,
the divine.
absolutely. Yes, Vijayaji was adding something
Yeah, without attachment,
without attachment.
which
Or,
means, yeah.
huh?
So if you're talking to elders, for example, we have to leave whatever is our assumption that they will understand or they are elderly to us. We have set of expectation when we speak with others.
Hmm,
We have to get down. Whereas when we speak with a child, we do it easily because we
hmm.
already know that. So you have to be very much in your consciousness to see, leave that detachment. Only when we expect
The
that, we have that.
expectations. So
Yeah, so
expectations have to be
yeah,
isn't let go. No, we have to let go of expectations. Means कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मां फलेषु कदाचन मा
exactly.
कर्म फल हेतुर्भूर्मा ते संगोस्व कर्मणि. It is so important that we must do that. And this Upanishad is also talking about something very similar. It is talking about something called what the Gita calls Naishkarmya Siddhi. Example of a lotus leaf is given in the Gita. Padma Patram Mivambasa. The lotus leaf is like floating on water, and yet water cannot cling on to it. That is how a person must live. Means the lotus leaf does not leave the water and go elsewhere, isn't it? It is there but not getting attached. And something like that. This is the only way for mankind. It is making it so clear. There's no other way. If you're making retirement plans after 60, 50, or 65, I don't want to do any work. No, karmas will never get over as long as you are there, and as long as you are there in this bhuloka, offer swaha to the divine, offer it to the divine and perform your actions. Because this is the only way you can attain true freedom. Means you will not get bound by the karmas. Many times we get entangled into karmas we don't even realize. Sometimes saying just a hi to a friend whom you really don't want becomes the biggest wrong karma, which puts you into a big entanglement. And then you wonder, oh no, I was supposed to do this work, but I got entangled in another loop because that started. So, our duties we should not forget and try to seek to live a full 100 years. This is the second verse of the Upanishad. And this also resonates with many other Upanishadic texts. If you study the Mandukya Upanishad, which is a very metaphysical Upanishad, there also it is, we are calling upon the divines to give us strong bodies. Swastina Indro Vruddhashravaha Swastina Pusha Vishwavedaha Swastina Tarksho Arishtanemehi Swastino Bruhaspatir Dhatu. All the gods are asked to give a full, nice, give me, let me serve, let the grace of all these gods be there. Why? Sthirairangai sushtuvan swastanubhi vyashema deva hitam yadayuhu. For the work of the gods, I need to be available, isn't it? For the work of the gods, I need strong, fit bodies. We have a duty. Krishna also tells in the Gita, your duty is towards your sharira. Idam shariram kaunteya. The Kshetrajna knows that the sharira has to be strong. Where what life will go if sharira is not taken care of? Which yatra you are going to undertake in life journey? If the vehicle, the body is not strong. So your duty for the body must not be forgotten. So again, first Upanishad talks about this. Let us continue. The third shloka. Because in the Gita also, if you see the third adhyaya also, there is very nicely. Krishna says, Yagnartha karmanon yatra lokoyam karma bandhana tadartham karma kaunteya mukta sangha samacharaha. Except actions that are performed in a state of sacrifice, chained to karma's bonds are all actions done otherwise. That is why, Arjuna, your actions you regulate with the freedom of detachment that I postulate. Mukta Sangha, a free union. That is the most beautiful aspect which is possible. And Krishna is also talking about the same thing. So you must sacrifice to the divine, become free and work for the divine, be available. Let us continue further. Asurya nama te loka andhen tamasavೃತಾಃ तांस्ते pretyabhigachanti yeke chatmahano janah. Again, I repeat it. Asurya nama te loka andhen tamasavೃತಾಃ तांस्ते pretyabhigachanti yeke chatmahano janah. So here we see the Upanishad giving a very strong warning. It is giving a warning. What is it? Let us hear it. Post death, to the doomed sunless realms they attain, where only a blind darkness the beings can obtain. Accursed is the fate of those beings who kill and pollute their souls by their own will. I'll repeat it once more. Post death, to the doomed sunless realms they attain, where only a blind darkness the beings can obtain. Accursed is the fate of those beings who kill and pollute their souls by their own will. Why is this warning there? Anybody? Does it seem out of place or is it necessary? What do you think?
Necessary. It's a warning that walk towards me or
Hmm.
walk on the other side.
Hmm. Walk towards, what was the point
Walk
you made?
towards me, walk towards the light. Otherwise, if you carry on regardless
Hmm.
and don't walk in the light and do all the negative
You go against the this is
things,
actually the
go
natural
against
course of,
the
yes, the natural,
will of God or
against the will
Lord.
of the divine. You are likely to
Yeah,
bear
that's
the
right.
consequences of what we can say a darkness that is in the absence of light. It is,
Yes.
if you see, it is like, how do we say that? We have a mind, we have the freedom in our, that is why we have the freedom to either become totally free or we have the freedom to get bound, isn't it? If we say, I reject these verses of the Upanishad, verse 1 and 2, the person says, I don't recognize the divine as an owner. I recognize myself as the owner of everything. First of all, I cannot, no matter how rich I may be, I cannot own everything in the world. I can't own people's feelings. I can't own, places inside of the heart of somebody, isn't it? By wealth. These are not things that can be owned. Maybe paper can really, on paper, I can own certain things. But if I don't own a place in the heart, what's the use? That's a poverty, isn't it? That is a daridrya. But that will come when? When I don't recognize that there is something beyond me. There is a divine, there is a great divine being who is the owner of everything. Somebody says, no, I reject all of it. I reject working for the betterment of the world. I reject for sacrificing anything other than myself. What will happen to such a person? Well, this is what is going to happen. In the Bhagavad Gita also we have something like what I think the Divine Life Society has described as the ladder of the fall. How a person first rejects the divine, then thinks that there's no truth in the world, there's no higher truth in the world, then there's nothing but running after desires. But we know, isn't it? Desires do not give us joy and bliss. I like chocolates, for example. If I keep eating and I overeat chocolates and then I become diabetic, what's going to happen to my world? It will become upside down, isn't it? And yet I refuse it and I say, no, I still like, I'll go after my desires. I don't care about anything else. Then I'm going to follow to my doom, isn't it? And this is talking about the soul journey also. These rishis, if you study the Gita, if you study the other metaphysical texts, they talk about the journey after the death also. And says that is asurya namate loka. Andhena tamasa. It's like a blindness. What is the blindness? It's ignorance only. It is ignorance. Not being able to see is not real blindness. Blindness, there are so many people who cannot see, but physical eyes are not functional. And yet they are able to see the truth in so many things. They're able to see better than so many other people who have eyes to see. So this is the blindness which is coming in the lack of the sun. Sunless realms. Asurya namate loka. Many places they made it Asur. It's not the Asur, it is Asurya. Sri Aurobindo has very nicely explained it in his Upanishad, the commentary as well, that it is the doomed sunless realms. Because this is the place where tanste pretyabhigachanti yeke chatmano jana. Those who pollute their own soul, go against the divine and pollute. Everybody is essentially divine, but yet there are people who are murderers. There are people who are criminals who hurt people in such bad manners. If you see, a logical mind will say there's no need to do such things. And yet there is this mind which is there, which is the Atmaiva Ripur Atmana of the Gita, which says mind is your friend, mind is your enemy. Mind is your friend when it allows you to discover the divinity in you. Mind is the enemy when it teaches you that there's no divinity inside of you. So such people go into the dark realms which are sunless. And that is the danger, is what the Upanishad gives a warning. It does not give an order, or it does not put a fear factor also. It just gives a clear explanation and it's a consequence. It is like, it's not a curse, isn't it? By saying to someone, "Ki if you touch fire, you will get burnt." Is that a curse or it's a logical sequence of things? It's just logic.
Logic.
It's just logic. And this is absolute logic here. First two verses ask you to recognize the divinity in the world. And next, it tells you, but remember, going against divinity, you're not going to be powerful enough. An individual is so limited compared to the infinite. So the individual should learn to become one with infinite. The drop can become the ocean also, isn't it? When it becomes one. But if the drop says, "I, the drop, am greater than the ocean," the sun will just make it get evaporated within moments. What is going to happen to that drop? Nothing. But when the drop recognizes it and slowly becomes one, that's a different story altogether. So let us continue. We go to the fourth shloka of this Upanishad. And that is where Sri Aurobindo called the second movement is starting. Movements in the sense, you see, the first part, it moves in a particular direction. And nobody else has given this type of explanation to the Isha Upanishad like Sri Aurobindo has. So there he says, now we'll see one more interesting movement. First moment was establishment of the supremacy of the divine, establishment of the attitude of the individual towards the divine, and establishment of the consequences of having a wrong attitude towards the divine. That is in the first three shlokas. Now we move into what is the fourth shloka of this, which is the second moment according to Sri Aurobindo. Let us see. अनेजदेकं मनसो जवीयो नैनद्देवा आप्नुवन् पूर्वमर्षत् तद्धावतो न्यनत्येति तिष्ठत् तस्मिन्नपो मातरिश्वा दधाति. I repeat once more. अनेजदेकं मनसो जवीयो नैनद्देवा आप्नुवन् पूर्वमर्षत् तद्धावतो ज्ञानत्येति तिष्ठत् तस्मिन्नपो मातरिश्वा dadhati. Fixed firmly, yet faster than mind is its tread. It is beyond the gods, and it ventures further ahead. Immortile, and yet crossing all the things that run. Master of the ethereal seas of life. It is He, the One. I repeat it once more. Fixed firmly, yet faster than mind is its tread. It is beyond the gods, and it ventures further ahead. Immortile, and yet crossing all the things that run. Master of the ethereal seas of life. It is He, the One. So here we see the Upanishad introducing the concept of the Brahman. First one was about mindset, attitude, and everything, and now suddenly the concept that is beyond the mind. the Brahman is introduced. How is the Brahman described? It is fixed firmly in one place and yet traveling faster than the mind. It is beyond the gods. It is beyond the gods and yet it ventures further ahead. Means it's already beyond and it's still expanding and growing further. That is that tattva. It is immortal. It's not much firm, not moving, and yet crossing all the things that run. It is the master of the ethereal seas of life. It is he, the one. Mata Rishwan the Dhati. It is the nourishing one which is giving life to everything, and it is the one. This is the Brahman described by the ancient sages. If you look at it, doesn't it look a bit confusing logically?
But then there's nothing logical about this, is it? It's totally
Yeah.
beyond the human mind. I'm just
Yes,
sitting and wondering, how am I supposed to absorb everything? It's sort of
yes,
it's
no,
there,
it is
one minute
growing
it's
beyond.
not there.
That
It's
is,
not going. How do you
it
firmly
is,
fix it?
yes, yes. And to experience, to fix firmly, we have to first break whatever limitations of our mind are there. We will have to experience that and become vast. Like Tukaram had beautifully said, Anu Reniya Thukura Tuka Akasha Yoda. Meaning, Tukaram had said that I am smaller than the Anu. Anu was the name given for the atom. Then not just there was something called smaller than Anu also. Subatomic aspect also was described before these microscopes or anything else observations were done. Smaller than the Anu, smaller than the Renu, and yet Tuka is wider than the skies. And so vast he is, and yet he is so small. Somebody will say, how do you understand that? Well, you don't have to understand it by logic. Because if you put it in your logic, it's breaking your thing. Say, now, for example, Shashiji, I just have a small eclair in my hand. Okay. Now we have all of us here and who are participating. Can I divide okay, all of you want? Okay. Can I share it with everybody? Maybe I can. I can give a small portion. But you bring another 100 people inside. Can I give a small piece, equal shares to everybody of one
Maybe
small
you can
eclairs?
have it on behalf of all of us.
Okay, I can have it on behalf of all. Probably I'll do that after the session. But it's not possible, isn't it? Because it's such a small, it is a finite entity. And there are so many people that you cannot divide it. And this is what scientists tried to do. Scientists said there is nothing in the world that is smaller than the atom when the atom was described. First, nothing smaller than the atom at all. The smallest fundamental, indivisible entity is the atom. Some years went by, and they said, oh, there are subatomic particles. There are electrons, there are protons, there are neutrons. And they were all like, wow, yes, each of them have their own individual functionality. Each of them are different. So then there's nothing smaller than that, is what they said. But no, they went further inside. They went into further quarks. There's nothing smaller than quarks. This we call it quark. Now, that quark is now being divided. There's up quark, down quark, side quark, color quark. Each has a different property. No, I mean, you are telling something is so small. It's just like that one eclair, and I'm saying, please have a taste to 5,000 people. Tell me, how do you, isn't it tasty? Did you like it? It's like teasing, isn't it? But it is something like that. But these are all, understand, these are not fake. This is not work of fiction. These are scientists who are having observations and they're identifying. And suddenly somebody says, oh, these are all waves. Don't want to call anything anymore. All the laws fall apart because these don't exist as points, they exist as waves. I mean, what is happening? Well, this is what is happening, what Tukaram understood in a state of higher consciousness, or what our Vedic rishis understood before when they said that. Tadhavato jnanatyeti tishtat tasmin apo matarishvalati. It is firm and yet crossing. Means the reason the many of the Upanishads use this, or even our Sri Krishna uses it in the Gita, it is not to confuse. It is not to confuse the individual. It is just to remind and point out to the individual that there are the limits of the mind. The mind has its limitations. We can stretch it, stretch it, stretch it, stretch it. If you really understand, you can stretch it so much. That is also a limitless power. But ultimately, the logic of the mind has to be sacrificed for the divine. That does not mean sacrificing common sense, but because that is Sri Aurobindo had told. I have asked people to surrender their mind, not their common sense, because a lot of sadhaks were doing a lot of nonsense in the name of surrender. So they had to be reminded, ki, hey, you're not losing your common sense here. But if you understand it, that mind also, that is what Brahma Vidya also, it is just all the Upanishads adopted different ways to take people to that Brahman. Some through the form of story. Katha Upanishad talked about the beautiful samvad between Nachiketa and Yama. Some through poetry. Some through beautiful introspective questions. How is it that the world got created? Who is it that brought about the fall? What was the beginning? How did it happen? These are all questions. So a inquisitive mind may go this direction. Another may go according to the swabhava of the mind. There are so many, each person has a different swabhava. It will work according to that. But somewhere we have to surrender that swabhava to get the higher truth. That is why even in the Gita, Krishna had to say, isn't it? Sarva dharman parityaje mamekam sharanam rajam. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayami mashuche. He says, boss, don't worry. If you're concerned about moksha, I'll give it to you. I will liberate you. Just understand, surrender completely. And this is a secret message he gives afterwards in the Gita. He says, because you have Shraddha, I am giving this message, which is maybe the greatest tapasvi, greatest jnani, tapasvi pyo adhiko yogi, jnani bhyo matodhika, karme bhyascha adhiko yogi, tasmad yogi bhavarjuna. Become that yogi, that integral yogi who has transcended all the ahankaras of the individual self, and you will get that realization. The Brahma Vidya is also to be experienced. Imagine if you just get an understanding, you will get it when you become calm, when your mind stops its calculations, stops its, trying to reason and making things fit in the mold. No, that is what the mind does. It says, I understood this much, I have lived this much life, I have got this much understanding, I have got this much experience, now I'll try to fit it. Like it's like a child trying to fit a circle into a triangular block. It will not fit in, but keep trying, 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 and then start crying because it's not working. That is what our mind does most of the time. Yes, Vijay, wants to add something? You're welcome.
Yes, Ji. So we are actually doing it every single day. So when
Hmm.
my child used to ask me, how does the mobile work? What are the short waves? What is the
Hmm.
connectivity? What is the network? We can
Ah.
only explain what it is. She has to start believing. The same with the case. So, but for this, we agree. Yes,
Yeah.
we agree magnetic force without seeing. We agree gravitational force without seeing. But at least we experience that. But with mobile, you don't experience that. But you have to
Hmm.
agree to it. So for that, we are okay to agree. But when it comes to this, it becomes a little difficult. That's the
Ah.
example I used to tell the kids when I
Okay, ji.
discuss this.
Yes, ji. Yes. So this is the Brahma Vidya. Krishna, the Upanishad talks further. It says, Tadejati, Tannejati, Taddure, Tadvantike, Tadantarasya Sarvasya, Tadu Sarvasya Syasya Bahyatah. I repeat once more. Tadejati, Tannejati, Taddure, Tadvantike, Tadantarasya Sarvasya, Tadu Sarvasyasya Bahyatah. That which moves and moves not, both at once. That which is near and also at a great distance. That which is contained in every living thing. That which also extends on the outside of everything. Some more properties of the Brahman. Because we know what is inside. If your friend calls you, where are you? I'm inside the house. If you're not inside, you'll say, I'm outside the house. Can you say, I'm inside and outside the house? That is if you are having the Brahmic consciousness and you're able to have the consciousness of outside and inside, then maybe. But that is the Brahman. Brahman is near also, Brahman is far also, that is inside also, that is outside also. That is what the Upanishad talks about here. That is contained within every living thing, that is also extending on the outside of everything. Somebody will say this is all not useful logic in life at all, it's not practical, but it's wrong. Understand that there is this consciousness that's connecting. You'll maybe one day experience it, isn't it? Our yogis have got experience. Understand that everything is not so certain as per your mind. There are things, there are what we can say, things which are supramental. There are things which are beyond the mind. And if we don't understand that, then we cannot move ahead. And even physicists have something, isn't it? They understand the uncertainty. There is an uncertainty principle in physics, if anybody is aware of. A principle of uncertainty, which is having so many practical applications. You have to, this uncertainty itself is something very important. You can't predict what, so it's like it's actually connected to particles and all, how you cannot predict the position and momentum at the same time. Because if position you predict, by the time the momentum would have changed. So you will not be able to go to that point. If you try to get the momentum right, you cannot get the position right because it's so dynamic, it's so moving continuously. That is something similar to what the Upanishadic seers were trying to tell through this shloka. A very interesting aspect here. Let us go on further to the next shloka. I think we will be able to complete two movements today because if we try to complete four, it would be unfair on the Upanishad itself. The Upanishad has four movements. We will complete two today and maybe two the next week. So this second movement has some more shlokas up to shloka number 7. So we will just look at that and probably have a brief recap of what we have seen. So far we saw first part that the Upanishad is talking about the attitude of life. First, Isha Vasyamidam Sarvam. Let everything be belonging to the divine, whatever that is. Don't try to lust after anything. What comes naturally, accept it. And try to live your life this way for 100 years. Because that is the way you will get what is the Naishkarmya Siddhi, or you will get what we call the Mukti, Jivan Muktata. Then there is the danger. There is the danger of going on the wrong path. Well, that wrong path leads to darkness. There is a darkness which is going against the divine only, where you are harming yourself, harming your own self. When a person does some deplorable act, that act is maybe it might hurt somebody else, but isn't it polluting the soul of that individual? It does. So remember that. That is a warning there. And then now we are suddenly being introduced to the Brahman, the concept of the Brahman. So we saw two things about the Brahman in the shlokas before this. First was about how this Brahman is, you know, it's crossing everything. It is fixed firmly, yet it is growing beyond the gods also, meaning we have an idea of the Devas. Well, this Brahman is transcending the Devas also. Then we are talking about it is far, it is near, it is inside, it is outside. So let us continue further. तदेजति तनेजति तद्दूरे तद्वन्तिके तदन्तरस्य सर्वस्य तदु सर्वस्यास्य बाह्यतः. That we completed. Now let us go on further. Yastu sarvani bhutani yatmanyevānupashyati sarvabhuteshu chatmanam tato na vijugupsate. Again I repeat it. Yastu sarvani bhutani atmanyevānupashyati sarvabhuteshu chatmanam tato na vijugupsate. Before we look at the meaning, I have a small question for Johiji. Johiji, have you studied this Upanishad before? Yes, because you had given an example of your workplace. No? Is Johiji there right now?
Yeah, I have read this Upanishad before. Like, yeah.
Okay. Okay, fine. Because this very right answer is actually what you said is very much exactly what is the
But
meaning of.
I gave that example without thinking about this. That was a
Okay,
random
without
one,
thinking. Okay,
not
but you see,
intentional.
Maybe you have already got the Brahma Vidya then, because you have nicely given what is coming ahead. Because this is the shloka here. Yastu sarvani bhutani. What happens when you recognize that there is this divine which is so immaculate, so perfect, which is here also, which is there also, which is surpassing everybody, which is everywhere. Well, this is the shloka. Let us see the English meaning of the same. When in all beings the self one can see and realize that in all beings the self alone can be. Whence he understands the self dwells in all beings, he gets liberated from animosity and all misunderstandings. How beautiful that is. I repeat it once more. When in all beings the self one can see and realize that in all beings the self alone can be. Whence he understands the self dwells in all beings, he gets liberated from animosity and all misunderstandings. How beautiful it is when you realize that this divine is present in all beings, when you just don't think by mind, you actually realize it, you feel it. You feel somebody else is your brother or your sister, though the person has no other blood relation. Because you're understanding, you're having that empathy, you're able to experience that. And it's not just on the level of empathy, it is a sakshatkar, as what they say, the realization that comes to that we are one, that feeling. Well, this is what, when you recognize the Brahman is everywhere, automatically you start becoming one. I think that comes to many people when you, like, for example, you you don't know, you go to a foreign country also, you don't know the culture, you don't know the customs, anything of that sort. But somewhere you connect with that place. Then don't you see the oneness there? You see a oneness in all the diversity also, you're able to see that oneness. That is very much inherent. And that is the Brahman. And that Brahman allows you to see oneness, is what it's saying. And in all beings, that self alone can exist. And when you understand that the self dwells in all beings, that person gets liberated from what? From hate, from hatred, and all other misunderstandings that come. This is one important aspect. The heart that is containing hate cannot contain truth. That is essential for us to remove hate. Krishna in the Gita tells Arjuna when he has to fight people who have taken pledges to murder him. He has to fight them. But Krishna says, have no hate. He says the beautiful word is there in the Gita, Nirvaira. In your heart, if you're having hate, Krishna cannot function. It's so clear in the Gita. Because you are now disconnected from the truth, you are no more going to be driven by divine consciousness, and the poison of hate is going to pollute the bearer only. It is going to poison the bearer only, and it will destroy the bearer. So when you are able to see the oneness, hate is going to disappear from your heart, and all the other misunderstandings that come from hate, that is going to change, is what this Upanishad talks about. Let's continue to the next shloka, which is this is the part which we will stop at the seventh shloka of this Upanishad. And this is also the completion of the second moment as per Sri Aurobindo. Yasmin sarvani bhutani atmaivabhut vijanataha tatra ko mohaha kaha shokaha ekatvam anupashyataha. Yasmin sarvani bhutani atmaivabhut vijanataha tatra ko mohaha kaha shok ekatvam anupashyataha. When the gnosis of the self's existence in all beings comes by the realization, the being enlightened becomes. Where then can the delusion or sorrow exist or be? When in all beings a oneness one can see. It's what sorrow, what depression, what are you going to feel bad about when you realize that there is oneness. You won't feel like you are a loser or losing something when you see everything is one. Will you not feel blissful when you're somebody you consider your own wins somewhere? Or you will think, oh no, what is it? Because when you have made a bheda between you and the other person, then it is like my victory is his loss or his, it's a binary. But it is not binary if you get the higher perspective. Somebody feels blissful. Don't we feel happy? When we watch movies, when the hero suffers, we cry, isn't it? Or the heroine is sad. Why? Because we relate to that. And same way, when that person is now successful, we enjoy that moment. Ki, wow. Or at least in some of the South Indian movies, people go through so much trouble and frustration. They kind of, project it in the movies. So then the hero hits somebody and that person breaks laws of gravity and flies elsewhere. Everybody start feeling powerful because they have now connected. They have become somewhere one with that. That is a sentiment. But that's a lower sentiment because that is why these masses then get into so much trouble because they don't get the higher truth. But when the higher truth comes into us, we are not going to be driven by such, lower thoughts, individual limitations. What is there? If I recognize I am divine, do I need some competition or some kind of evaluation to tell me what is my rating or percentage of divinity in me? No, I don't care anymore because now I have recognized the divinity is there in me, divinity is there in others. Why do I have to fall into that trap? That is what this Upanishad talks about very nicely and very clearly. When the gnosis of the self existence in all beings comes, this is so important. In all beings, the self is present. All things bright and beautiful, all creatures great and small, also all things that are wise, that are wonderful, and even in things which are not wise and which are not so wonderful, also. Means in Prakriti, everything is compassed, isn't it? There's also Vikara. Vikara is also there inside of Prakriti. Hidden behind is the divine. Best example we can to understand because somebody may say, how is it practically possible? How can I see oneness in all? Well, every high scripture of of humanity talks about seeing oneness in all. Gita talks about friends and foes being one. Does not mean go show back to some foe and say, please stab me because we are one. It is not that. But understanding oneness because a foe may teach me something which my friend may not because of attachment. I may learn there, though the foe will not willingly teach me, but I have to be alert. I have to be ready to receive. And something of that sort, it is so simple. It is this. Our Sherwindo received the experience inside of a jail, 6 by 9 feet in Alipur, prison there. Vasudevam Sarvamiti, that experience which Gita tells is the most rare experience. That is the rare experience this Upanishad is talking about, where you can see oneness. Sri Aurobindo saw that and he beautifully described it. He said, even in the petty criminals also, he saw Vasudeva. In the prosecution, he saw Vasudeva. In the judge, he saw Vasudeva. Even the coarse blanket that he was given, inanimate object also, he saw it was Madhava hugging him. That is again Vasudeva himself. So that released, I mean, that realization released him from whatever worry. He said, no, no, nothing to worry. If I have to be hanged also, it is Vasudeva's will, and I don't care anymore because Vasudeva is there taking care of everything. And that was one interesting turn in Sri Aurobindo's life inside of a prison, least likely place to receive a sakshatkar. But now that prison has become a pilgrimage center. How is it possible? Well, that is the power of the divinity, that is the power of the Brahman, and that is the power of a realization of the Brahman, which will allow you to see oneness. He used a very nice word. He says, misused bodies too, I saw the divine, because all were not freedom fighters in that jail. There were petty criminals, there were smugglers, or there were murderers, all of them. In them also, he used the word misused bodies, meaning this body has been misused. by the outer force of that individual. But still, inside of that misused body, also the divine is there, and that was a sakshatkar, that was a darshana. It is a very durlabha moment, according to the Gita, to actually perceive with our own eyes. Like Arjuna got to see by Sri Krishna's grace. A different eye has to be opened. A jnana chakshu, the eye of knowledge has to be opened. In that eye, when it opens, you can see. Well, it's okay. Means you don't have to go to get an experience if you can get it from somebody whom you trust, isn't it? I say I have to go to Ooty and I've never heard of that place and I've been so ignorant that I've never tried to get information about that place. But a very trustworthy friend of mine says, "Hey, that's a very cold place. Better pack your sweaters." That's a knowledge, isn't it? And that will help me, isn't it? So it is same thing. So what if I don't see with my own eyes the supreme Brahman? It's all right. But at least let me recognize that the Upanishad tells me when I see that I'll be able to get a oneness, and that is the oneness this Upanishad talks about. So first part is there, and the second part is actually talking about the Brahman and then talking about a oneness. Now the next part we will see what it is. But this is a very interesting aspect because today's world we see great distortions of truth. We see people creating situations which are most ugly, which we cannot say even they are not even human. We're talking about these 5,000 years ago, they were talking about reaching a state of highest divinity. Well, here we are still aspiring for seeing humanity. When will divinity come in? But in that also, if we can understand that there is a covert play of the divine behind this, then you will be able to understand what is your role and you're going to be quietly participating. And that is the second part of this Upanishad. We stop here to see what is third and fourth. We will probably look at in the next session. So, with this, we conclude. If anybody has something to ask or share, you are welcome. After which, we conclude with the Shanti Mantra. Yes, anybody, would you like to ask or share something? And I think Johiji has answered the question about what is the practical utility of getting some Upanishad or a Vedanta in our life. Well, at least I'll stop hating people for what they are or what I perceive they are. I can recognize divinity inside. And I have experienced, at least in my short life so far, whatever it is, I have got help from the most unexpected places. Sometimes my they have no well wishes for me also. They have ended up helping without their knowledge. And I've been grateful to the divine. It's like you're going on a road and you see somebody, oh, this person, I'll avoid this road. Maybe Krishna has only placed that person there so that you take another route and something else comes out of that. That's the maze of the moments of life that we have. And if we can just see, we can actually become better players. And that is what comes in the third part of the Upanishad. What are the stages of consciousness? Because that is now talking, next part would be about those who are awakened. Now, that is the game of the players. They're not played by the forces, they are conscious. So, what is that? That we will see in the next part, in the moments 3 and finally moment 4 as well. So, I think with this we conclude. If no questions are there, I conclude with the Shanti Mantra. Is that okay?
Yes.
All right, then, let us conclude. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् हरि ओम तत्सत् कृष्ण वन्दे जगद्गुरुं पुनर्मिलामः जय श्री कृष्ण नमस्ते
Thank you, Krishna. Thank you for today.
थैंक यू जी थैंक यू
Good night.
गुड नाइट जी आई थिंक इट्स डे फॉर यू इजंट इट गुड डे
Yeah, it's tea time.
टी टाइम ओके ऑल राइट
I I wanted to share something with you,
यस जी
personal something. When you stop taping, if we're on our own.
yeah I'll just stop the recording and yeah one moment ji
Okay. Okay.
just give me a